beginning to tell me about their experiences moving to the UK with family and even on their own. And I feel like this is really something everyone out there, especially if you're getting ready to move to the UK and you are looking for accommodation. Two recent stories about people that are finding it difficult to find accommodation in the UK and having problems with their accommodation while they are in the UK, especially international students in the UK. This recent one is so sad, and I feel like it's high time I talk about this and also tell you things that you need to avoid when you are moving to the UK, especially with family. So this particular one shared a story that's really heartbreaking with me recently, that they moved to the UK. So apparently they moved to the UK with family and it's on a study visa. So the person found admission in the UK, master's degree program in the UK, and you know, in the UK with master's degree you can actually move with family. So she moved with her own family and they made all the necessary arrangements. And I remember when they got the admission, I was like, why not one of you moving first, because I know how accommodation can be in the UK. So one of you moving first, and then if the person finds accommodation and everything, the other person will come. And you know, they made inquiries and everything, and people were like, why not just, you know, go through the whole stress once and for all and get to the UK, which actually made sense. And I was like, okay, if you know you can shoulder it and all of that, then that's fine. So eventually when they got to the UK, they couldn't get any accommodation from back home, so they got an accommodation with Airbnb. Okay, so they got accommodation with Airbnb for 1 week. Listen to this, they got accommodation with a UK Airbnb for 1 week. And I was like, 1 week? Okay, maybe you have a different plan, because I can't be here telling someone who has a different plan, and maybe I've shared what I think, and maybe the person must have gotten, I don't know it all and all of that. So eventually they got this Airbnb, and then they started looking for house. I remember when they got to the UK as well, this person has to also start looking to starting school and meeting with the requirements for the school itself while they are looking for accommodation, because they have children and all of that. So they were looking for accommodation, they couldn't find one, and when they eventually found one, it was like the day that 1 week when they are supposed to move out from the Airbnb. So that day they were supposed to go and view the house, and I was like, you're viewing the house that same day you're moving in? Have not seen that one happen. Even if you view the house and you like it, there are paperwork, there are things like guarantor. And remember when they got there, that particular accommodation, they were telling them to pay 6 months accommodation, 6 months fees, like 6 months deposit, because it's students visa, right? So they are afraid that if they give them the accommodation, they might not even be able to pay. And they started running around for that particular 6 months deposit as well, and then even the timeline. So they were thinking of, okay, whether to extend their Airbnb, and then the Airbnb person was like, I have someone that has already booked, and they were like, we are here already, why not extend? So I don't know how the discussion went, but the thing is that on that day they were supposed to move out, they told the Airbnb man that they are not moving out yet, they want to extend, but the Airbnb was saying, I have someone that booked. So they thought, oh, because we are here already, there's no way he will allow someone else that has booked to come in here. So they went out to view the house, and lo and behold, they came back, and the next person that was supposed to stay in that house, in that room, was already outside waiting for them to move out their things so that they can go. Remember, this person is a family with children and in the UK code. Oh my God, I'm laughing telling this story, but it's not fun when you are new to the UK and you don't even know the next place to go. And if you have used Airbnb in the past, that there is a possibility of like staying in an Airbnb doesn't mean that you find accommodation that same day. When I moved to the United States with family and we stayed with Airbnb, we found the Airbnb like a month before. And I remember we searched and searched for Airbnb that are close to that place, and we couldn't find, even we had limited options to pick. So that is the same case. So even if they are to find another one, it's going to be in another city. Remember, they are with family and they did not plan for any of those. So guys, this is not just the only one. So they were stranded outside. What helped them, I'm going to tell you at the end of this, how they ended up finding somewhere to stay. Next one is as well is someone that traveled with the spouse, and they planned this one. They not want to stay in Airbnb. They planned to stay with a friend, so they stayed with a friend. You can imagine studying, and somebody and the spouse staying with a friend. They stayed with a friend, and all of that. Finding accommodation, they were telling them to pay. They looked and looked and looked. I remember, you know, how they lamented and everything, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. You know, this is really sad. Why is it that they are not able to find accommodation? I mean, this is really sad. But this recent one is even the worst. I don't know how to tell the story of that second one, but it was sad. Like, they couldn't find accommodation easily, and they had like emergencies, and they were looking for like just to find somewhere to stay, and I know how hard it was. So guys, things that you should avoid when you are moving from any country at all to a new country is not planning very well. And when I say not planning very well, it's like planning according to your own family. Sometimes people advise you based on what works for them, but sometimes you also have to make sure that you are working with what your family needs at that time. The person advising you might have more money. The person advising you must have used a friend or used a longer Airbnb booking than you, or afford a longer Airbnb booking than you, and they're advising you, oh, come with family so that you will not stress yourself and everything. So at that instance, it will not work for you if you don't have enough money, if you don't have that ability to pay for a hotel or Airbnb for long, and then maybe your children are smaller than that person's children or something like that. So guys, you need to plan when you get admission, especially if you're a student and you're moving to the UK, and you know that you really need a good accommodation. Student accommodation, most times you will not be able to get it. Like if it is Amber students accommodation, this one that a lot of people are beginning to use these days, they might not be able to find, because I remember they tried to use Amber and they couldn't find. So those students accommodation, you might not be able to find once you mention that you have family. So you have to really plan the school fees, the accommodation. You need to plan a T where you are going to stay, even if you don't find accommodation from outside of the UK. What next? Where are you going to stay? Do you have family that will take you in, or are you going to pay for Airbnb? Paying for 1 week, in my opinion, is very, very short. Sometimes it's hard. It takes longer to find accommodation if you have family, and sometimes they might want you to pay like ridiculous amount of money before they are even going to allow you to stay with family in their home. So you want to make sure that you are planning towards that, okay? The second thing is avoid making the mistake of thinking, oh, it's UK, it's abroad, there's no way they will allow me to stay outside with my family and all of that, and because they have strict rules and people are nice. Don't make that mistake of thinking that people are nice. You know, the first scam I experienced in the UK was because I thought, this person is using UK number, and I know how they collect all your information before they give you UK number. This can be a scam. You know, I was giving excuses because it is not like an international number, it's a UK number. There's no way someone will have a UK number and use it to scam somebody, and eventually it was a scam. Another accommodation scam I've had is when I was looking for accommodation and I found a really, really cheap accommodation in central London. I was like, how can this accommodation fully furnished be this cheap in central London, very close, I mean, to the where I work? And the person was like, oh, I'm going for vacation, I just need people to stay there for 1 year and I'll be back, that's why it's this cheap. And then when I started saying, okay, but I need to view the house, okay, I need to view the house before I make payment, they will say, oh, they will let you in, don't worry, they will let you in, you don't need to view the house. So when when you're ready to move in, you just move in with your family. I already have people that are already checked it and everywhere is clean. Just pay the deposit, or I think pay everything, and then when they said, okay, just pay everything, just move out, just move into the house without viewing the house, I was like, come on, this is not. I now said, no, this is not how it's done. I now, you know, they cloned a website, because I found it through a very known accommodation website in the UK. So when I went back to the website, I found like, this is maybe a cloned website, right? So I had to like go in a different browser and then search the right website and look for that particular one, and lo and behold, that accommodation was not there. And then I went back to that other the place I found that accommodation, and it was closed already. It was removed already because the person suspected that I already know what's going on. Because I wanted to go and find that and report it or something like that, find a way to report that account. But then everything was gone, and I was like, come on, even the number wasn't going through anymore. And I just like was grateful that I did not lose my money. I was looking for more accommodation. How can I now lose the whole money I was looking to use to pay for accommodation? So don't make the mistake of thinking that everyone is nice or everything is good when you are looking for accommodation in the UK. Just try to make sure you follow the right procedure. Find accommodation where you're supposed to find. If it is someone that wants to host you, make sure you know, have a relationship with that person, know exactly what that person is doing and everything. Because you don't want to leave your home country and then go to another country and find yourself in a situation that you don't like. It is not fun, I tell you. It is not. The third mistake that you should avoid is thinking that it's easy to get accommodation in the UK. It might be easy. Like, it's better for you to be proactive and know that there are so many things that are involved when you are allowing a foreigner to stay in an accommodation in the UK. They want to make sure that you have the right to live in the UK. They want to make sure that you are able to pay for that accommodation. Okay, so they want to make sure that you are not going to stay in the accommodation and use it for things that are, that are not good. Okay, so they want to do a background check. They want to make sure that you're able to pay. They want to make sure that you have the legal right to live in the UK. So you will not just find accommodation now and they tell you to live there. But there are things that you can do to make it easier for yourself. Like, instead of looking for accommodation in student websites and all of that, you can look for accommodation directly from the landlord, and you can find them maybe in Facebook Marketplace. So Facebook Marketplace is a good place for families, people that are immigrants with families that are looking for accommodation. In Facebook Marketplace, some landlords that don't want to go through agents, they will put their properties there, 2-bedroom flats, studio apartments, and all of that. And if you discuss with them and tell them the situation, everything, they might be able to offer you. Some people find accommodation through Facebook Marketplace, and you want to try that. Another one is Gumtree. Gumtree is another place that if you have a family and you want to live in the UK, finding accommodation in Gumtree is also another good option. Another thing is to also have that in mind, that you might find that even if you find those accommodation through agencies, through Facebook Marketplace, through Amber, through all these sources, they might want you to pay heavily. They might want you to pay 3 months deposit, 6 months deposit. So make adequate preparation for those. So the fourth one, and maybe even the most important when you want to move to UK with family, is the right connections. So you've got a job, right? You've got the student visa, right? And you're independent, you're moving with your family, right? The next step that is really very, very important, that has helped a lot of people and will continue to help a lot of people, is making the right connections. It could be the community, most like the university, especially assuming you're going to University of Manchester, for instance, or University of Middlesex, for instance. Go to Facebook and search the community students that are going to this university. So usually you'll find Facebook forums, Telegram forums that has people that are getting ready to go to that university. Some of them will travel with family, some of them will go on their own. They will share tips on how they are finding their accommodation. Even people that have traveled, they might tell you, okay, we are in this place. So try to find people and make that connections with them before you go, because that is what this first family I talked to you about, finally what they did. Those connections that they made before they moved to the UK, they were now the people that they were now calling, saying, hey, this is our problem, we are now in the UK accommodation, that everybody was giving their suggestions, everybody was telling them what to do. Eventually one of them showed up and gave them this massive support, assuming they were hiding, because that is what people do. They hide and hide and hide. They don't want people to know that they are moving abroad, which I also did, right? I did not tell a lot of people until I found myself in the UK. But if you find yourself into trouble and nobody even knows where you are, then the trouble will be. So find people that have your interest at heart, that will not, try to bring you down because you want to move abroad. share with them that you're moving abroad. They might give you contacts of friends they have abroad that you can call when you get there. You know, people will suggest communities that they have abroad that you can call when you get there. You know, people will really help you with helpful contacts, and that is what is helping people when you now find yourself into this problem. Sometimes they will not give you money, they will not offer their accommodation, but they will share something that will help you, maybe where to go, where to find this, where to buy these things. So the mistake that people make, the last mistake I would say that people make is like hiding, you know, hiding that they are going. So it's not like you'll be announcing, but try to still make people aware. Some people that are really close to you are aware that you are moving, because their contribution, the information that you get from them might help you a lot when you move abroad, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of stress when you move abroad without any form of support at all, any form of a support at all. So I hope these stories have helped you in one way or the other. If you have family that are moving abroad, if you have people that are moving abroad, and you know that you can share some things that will help them, tell them to get connected on Facebook with the particular community that they are going to, help them to, you know, if you have friends that are already in the UK and in that community that you can share with them, why not? If you have people, you know, contacts, information, things that will help them so that they will settle quite quickly when they get to the UK, why not share with them? So guys, share this story with everyone you know that are moving to the UK. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you finding it hard to find accommodation in the UK? What are your questions? Let me know in the comment section. I hope